It was a gray Tuesday in February 2015, the kind of cold that crawls under your skin and stays there. She stood on the steps of the New York City Family Court in downtown Manhattan wearing the same thrift store coat she'd worn the day Ethan King proposed to her on the Brooklyn Bridge 8 years earlier. Back then the coat had looked romantic. Now it just looked cheap. She was 29, 4 months pregnant, and holding a divorce decree still warm from the judge's pen. The paper said she had abandoned the marital residence, and was therefore entitled to nothing. Not the dog. Not the savings account. Not even the $400 waffle maker they'd registered for at Crate and Barrel and never used. Ethan hadn't even shown up. He'd sent his lawyer, a shark in Tom Ford who smelled like money and contempt. The lawyer slid a check across the table before the hearing. $11,000. Hush money. Walking away money. Be smart, Ms. Harper, he'd said. Take it and disappear. She tore the check in half right there in the hallway. The pieces fluttered to the marble floor like dead butterflies. By 6 p.m. that same day she was homeless. Ethan had already changed the locks on the Soho loft. The doorman, Carlos, who used to sneak her extra cookies at Christmas, now looked at his shoes when she showed up with her duffel bag. Sorry, ma'am. Mr. King's orders. She took the subway to Brooklyn with exactly one stop too far because she fell asleep crying and woke up in Coney Island at 2 a.m. The train was empty except for a drunk guy pucking in the corner. She got out, walked to the boardwalk and threw up over the railing into the black Atlantic. That was the night Luna died. She didn't know the baby was a girl yet, but she'd already named her Luna because Ethan once said the moon looked like it belonged to them the night he got down on one knee. She felt the cramps start on the F train home. Home, what a joke. And by the time she reached the 24-hour mobile station off the Belt Parkway the blood was running down her legs. The clerk, a Pakistani kid who couldn't have been older than 19, handed her the key to the single-occupancy bathroom without a word. She locked the door, sat on the toilet and delivered her dead daughter into a nest of brown paper towels. 6 inches long. Perfect fingers. Already gone. She wrapped the baby in the only clean thing she had left, her mother's old Penn State t-shirt, and carried the bundle out like it was sleeping. The clerk met her eyes once, then looked away. He didn't charge her for the paper towels. She drove north in her rust-flaked 2003 Corolla until the gas needle twitched on E, pulled into a rest stop outside Scranton, and buried Luna under a pine tree her own mother used to park beneath when they'd visit Grandma. She dug with her bare hands until her nails split. When it was done she pressed her forehead to the cold dirt and made a promise out loud. They're going to bleed for this baby. Every single one of them. Then she threw up again, wiped her mouth and started driving back to New York. Because that's where the money was. The first 6 months she lived in the Corolla. She parked in 24-hour Walmart lots, truck stops, hospital parking garages where security didn't care. She showered at Planet Fitness with the $10 Black Card membership she paid for in cash. She ate saltines and peanut butter and whatever was left on plates at the diner tables before the bussers cleared them. She took a job waiting tables at Liberty Diner on Water Street, the place where junior analysts went to get drunk after the closing bell. She wore a name tag that said Michelle because Mia Harper was dead now. She listened. She listened to 25-year-old chads in Patagonia vests brag about shorting Hertz into bankruptcy. She listened to them scream about Tesla calls, about GME squeezes, about how some kid on Reddit named Roaring Kitty was about to make them all millionaires. She wrote everything down on the back of guest checks and stuffed them in her bra. At night she took the 7 train to a community college in Long Island City and sat in the back row of a Python class taught by a Belarusian guy who chain-smoked between lectures. She learned how to scrape data, how to backtest strategies, how to hide her IP behind 7 proxies so Robinhood wouldn't flag her for pattern day trading on a $300 account. Her first trade was $147 on Dogecoin at $0.006. She bought it the week Elon tweeted, Doge, and a Shiba Inu meme. She sold half at 8 cents to pay rent on a windowless room in Jackson Heights. He let the rest ride. She never looked at Ethan's Instagram, but the algorithm didn't care. Kept showing her his life anyway. Ethan and Olivia on a yacht in Capri. Ethan and Olivia at the Met Gala. Ethan and Olivia announcing their engagement with a ring the size of a doorknob. Every time she saw his face she threw her phone across the room. Then she picked it up and bought more crypto with whatever was left after rent. By the summer of 2021 she had $380,000. He quit the diner. She stopped cutting her hair. She wore the same black hoodie every single day until the cuffs unraveled. She didn't have friends. She had watch lists. She started a Delaware LLC called Harper Ventures. No website. No phone number. Just a P.O. box and a bank account at Mercury that nobody could trace back to Mia Harper because Mia Harper had died the night Luna did. She moved money through cold wallets, through DeFi yield farms that paid 8,000% APY for 12 hours before they rugged. She lost $90,000 in one night on a shitcoin called Squid and didn't blink. She made it back 10 times over when Luna Classic pumped after Do Kwon got arrested. She learned options the way other people learned religion. She sold naked puts on SPY the week the Fed pivoted. She bought 0 DTE calls on Nvidia the day ChatGPT dropped. She never told a soul. She never celebrated. She just watched the numbers climb and felt nothing else. The AI boom. She went all in on a basket of microcap AI stocks nobody had ever heard of, SoundHound, BigBear.ai, C3.ai, and then the quiet ones nobody was looking at yet. She bought 4 million shares of a company called Astral Dynamics that was building warehouse robots nobody wanted until Amazon announced same-day delivery in every major city. When Astral went from 80 cents to $42 in 9 months, she became worth $187 million on paper. She still lived in the same windowless room. She still showered at Planet Fitness. She just had better Wi-Fi now. The real game began. King Capital, Ethan's baby, the SPAC he'd taken public at $10 a share in 2021, was now trading at $178. Forbes called him the boy king of PropTech. He was buying half of Manhattan one distressed building at a time, flipping them into luxury condos with NFT deeds and crypto payments. Olivia's father had died the year before and left her $9 billion, most of it in illiquid commercial real estate that tanked during the pandemic. Ethan needed cash to close the deals. He raised a $4 billion blank check fund. He threw parties on yachts. He told CNBC that the metaverse is the new frontier of real estate, and the lemmings sent him another $1 billion. Mia watched every shareholder letter. She read every 8K. She hired a private investigator in Newark who owed her a favor and got the unredacted term sheets. Then she started buying. Not the stock. The buildings. Every single distressed property Ethan wanted, Harper Ventures bought first. Cash offers. No financing contingency. 10-day close. The sellers didn't ask questions when the wire came from a Delaware LLC with no Google footprint. One by one the crown jewels slipped through Ethan's fingers. The Flatiron Loft building he wanted for his headquarters. Gone. The Chelsea portfolio Olivia's dad had lost in foreclosure. Gone. The entire West Side waterfront development that was supposed to be called King's Landing, bought sight unseen for $940 million the day before Ethan's board vote. He started calling her the ghost bidder. Real estate brokers whispered about the woman nobody had ever met who always showed up with a cashier's check and zero emotion. December 6, 2025. The wedding of the decade. St. Patrick's Cathedral was stuffed with 800 people who collectively owned half the GDP. Beyoncé sang Ave Maria. The flowers were flown in from Ecuador that morning. The dress cost $4.2 million. Every network carried it live. Mia watched from her bedroom, still the same 250-square-foot studio, eating cold lo mein out of the carton. At 7:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right as Ethan and Olivia reached the altar, every screen in Times Square went black. Then, in stark white letters on black, "You taught me how to lose everything." 3 seconds later. "Now watch me buy it all back. With your money." The Nasdaq halted trading. The NYSE followed 11 seconds later when someone dumped 47 million shares of King Capital at market, 38% of the float, in a single block. The buyer on the other side of that trade. Harper Ventures. By the time the wedding reception started at the plaza, Mia owned 51.4% of Ethan's company. She'd bought the last 8% that morning through a dozen dark pool brokers while Olivia was getting her hair done. She took a shower, first one in 3 days, put on the same black hoodie and ripped jeans and called a black Maybach. The ballroom at the plaza had never been quieter. Ethan was mid-toast, glass raised, when the double doors opened and Mia Harper walked in alone. 10 years had carved her into something sharp and lethal. Her hair was long and wild, her eyes dead calm. The hoodie hung off her like a shroud. Every phone started recording at once. Ethan's champagne flute slipped from his fingers and shattered on Italian marble. Mia. His voice cracked exactly the way it used to when he begged her to stay during their last fight. She didn't answer. She walked straight to the stage, took the microphone from the stunned bandleader, and looked out at 800 of the richest people in America now staring at the poorest woman they'd ever seen. "Hello, Ethan." The sound system crackled with feedback for a second, then went crystal clear. 10 years ago you left me pregnant and homeless with $11.47 in my bank account. Tonight that $11.47 is worth $14,640,000,000. That's your entire net worth. Give or take the yacht you're about to lose. Someone in the back row gasped so loud it echoed. She pulled the original divorce decree from her pocket, the one he'd forced her to sign, and held it up so the cameras could see. This piece of paper said I abandoned our marriage. Tonight I'm returning the favor. He tore it in half. Then quarters. Then let the pieces fall like confetti. Security started forward, but their earpieces crackled at the same time. Every guard in the building had just received an email. Their direct deposits now came from Harper Ventures' payroll. They stopped moving. Mia looked at Olivia, who was crying so hard her fake lashes were sliding down her cheeks. "Don't worry, Liv. I'm not here for your husband. I'm here for mine." Then she turned back to Ethan. "You told me I'd land on my feet. You were right." He dropped the mic. The feedback screech lasted 4 full seconds, long enough for the sound to be memed 1,000,000 times before she even reached the door. Outside, the Maybach idled. The driver held the door open. "Home, Ms. Harper?" She slid into the back seat and finally let herself cry. But only for 30 seconds. Then she wiped her face, opened her laptop and started typing the press release that would finish the job. By morning, King Capital was delisted. By lunch, Ethan was hiding in a midtown hotel under a fake name. By dinner, Mia Harper was on the cover of every newspaper in the world wearing the same black hoodie and the calmest smile anyone had ever seen. And somewhere under a pine tree in Scranton, a tiny soul finally rested. Because Mommy had kept her promise.